out there in YouTube's SE Closer here, Southern Style Studios. Today I'm going to talk about something that I hear people discuss all the time, and there seems to be a lot of misunderstanding about it, and that is basically how wattage in an amplifier equates to decibels and how loud it is when you're playing it. Now I'm thinking back, and I remember I was in a band one time, and I had a 50 watt Marshall JCM 800, I think it was, and he was telling me that I didn't need that, and that a 30 watt amplifier was all I needed. And he seemed to think there was a huge difference between a 50 watt and a 30 watt amplifier. There seems to be a lot of confusion about this, and so what I decided to do today was to do a test. I'm speaking to tube amplifiers. I have a lot of experience playing tube amplifiers, and that's the ones that I tested today, and I don't know as much about solid state, but I would think that the same principles apply. Let me discuss this real quick. Generally speaking, and I know this isn't exact, and there's a lot of discussion about this, and there's a lot of discussion and debate about what the terms even mean. But in order for the human ear in general, now this is just in general, it's a generalized statement, to perceive a doubling in volume, it has to be a 10 decibel increase. Now, I've heard some people argue as low as 7, but I think it's generally accepted for human hearing perception that it takes about 10 decibels to sound like you have doubled the volume. Another thing is that it has to be about a 3 decibel increase in volume before the human ear generally even notices that there is an increase in volume. So if it's less than a 3 decibel difference, the human ear has difficulty determining that there's a difference in volume level, because an actual volume and a perceived volume are also different things, and it could be different for different folks because different people's ears are different. I know my ears are sensitive to highs and certain sounds that other people don't seem to be so sensitive to, but that's another story. So I'm going to tell you what I did today. Today I took 4 amplifiers, 4 classic amplifiers. I got a Marshall Class 5, which is a 5 watt all tube amplifier with a 10-inch speaker. And it's a combo. I have a Tweed Deluxe clone. It is a clone of a Fender Deluxe from the 50s. And it's the 5E3 circuit, I believe is what they call it. It has a 12-inch speaker in it. It is a combo, and it's approximately 12 watts. I'd say 12 to 15 watts output. I have a original 1965 Fender Deluxe. Alright, this is an original amp. It's got a 112 speaker in it, and it is about 22 watts output. And I got a JCM 800. It's basically the 50 watt version. It's the 2204 style head, but it's in a combo with a single 12-inch speaker. And like I said, it's 50 watts. Each one of these amplifiers has an 8 ohm speaker. Okay, they're all running 8 ohm speakers. Like I said, the Marshall Class 5 is running a 10-inch speaker. The other 3 are running 12-inch speakers. And all the speakers are different. I think the Marshall Class 5 has a stock speaker, whatever that came with. There's a Weber Alnico speaker, I think, in the Tweed Deluxe. There's an Eminence, I think it's a Cannabis Rex, is in the 65 Deluxe. And it's an Eminence, the Tonker. Yeah, Eminence the Tonker speaker in the JCM 800, and they're all 8 ohms, so that's pretty evened out. I got a little Radio Shack decibel meter here, and this is what I sat this across the room. This is about 10 feet away. I turned each amp full blast, wide open. Okay, I had a Les Paul that I actually plugged in. I plugged straight in. I hit an A chord, screwed around a little bit, and then, you know, and I took my cell phone and sat it over the top of this meter, and I recorded the meter as it, you know, as it actually detected the decibels. Okay, I recorded this for each amp, and I'll tell you that when I was doing the Marshall Class 5 and the Tweed Deluxe, I had it on the 100 decibel range, which is somewhere around in here. All right, and when I played the Blackface Deluxe and the JCM 800, I moved it up to 110. Okay, because they're over 110. But so I only changed the range 10 for the 4 amps, and that's from 5 to 50. So that's going to give you an indication of how this turned out. But I'm going to show this to you and let you hear it. I'm going to try to splice these things in. I'm also going to show you a screenshot from Audacity, because I also ran these things through Audacity, and I haven't decided yet if I'm going to let you hear the recorded version through an SM57 through Audacity, or if I'm just going to let you hear the cell phone video that picked it up that was over the top of this dB meter. I think either one of them's fine. I listened to both. I hadn't decided yet which one I'm going to use for the video, but I will tell you, when Audacity was doing this, for some reason that JCM 800 clipped that mic pretty bad. So I might let you hear it through the cell phone. But anyway, I'm going to let you hear the 4 amps, let you see the decibel meters, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about the results. Okay? All right. Okay, everybody, you just saw that. All right, that was a test of the 4 amps. I want to talk about that real quick. And I want to remind you as well that on the Class 5 and the Tweed Deluxe, I had the meter set on a 100 dB range. The 65 Deluxe and the JCM 800, I moved up to 110 dB range. Okay, the Class 5 is the one you saw first. The Class 5, it hit 104 dB. Okay, 104. It was real solid at 103, but it did hit, you know, one time it hit 104, all right, by that meter. The next one up was the Tweed Deluxe. That's a 22 watt amp. Remember now, that Class 5 is a 5 watt amplifier. 5 watts, people. Okay, it's got two 12AX7s in it. It's got one EL84 for an output tube, and it's a Class A, I think, but it's 5 watts. That's all it is. All right. The Tweed is 12 to 15 watts. It hit 106 decibels. Okay. Running a 12-inch speaker. 106 decibels. That's double, almost 3 times the output of the Marshall Class 5. Okay. Almost 3 times. And you picked up 2 dB. Okay. It's hard to even tell a difference in that. In the room, I couldn't tell you which one was louder. Matter of fact, in the room, it almost sounded like the Marshall was louder. Okay. 3rd amp up, 1965 Deluxe. This is an original. Okay. And it's in good shape. I gigged this amp. Wide open. Okay. It was on the 110 range. It hit 111 dB. All right. Now this is a 22 watt all tube amplifier. 22 watts. That's 111. That's only 5 dBs more than that Tweed, which is a considerable amount. Okay, and it's only 8 more than the Class 5. Well, actually 7, because the Class 5 hit 104. So it's only 7 dBs more than that. Okay. The last, not least, was the JCM 800, 50 watts. Okay, you know these things are beasts. And when Marshall rates their amps at 50 watts, that's very conservative. Okay, that's a very conservative rating. We hit 116 plus. I might should have went up to the next scale to 120. It might have hit 117 or 118 because it seemed like it bounced, but it hit that 116. We'll call it 116 plus. I'm not going to do that again. That thing was loud as crap. Okay, so that is about 10 decibels louder than the Tweed. All right, so it took that 50 watt JCM 800 to really sound like it's doubling in volume over about a 12 watt amp. 12 to 15, I think it's 12. Okay, this thing's got a little 5Y3 rectifier in it. You know, it's not a real high output. But anyway, it's got a lot of sag, stuff like that. A lot, but anyway, that's for another discussion. The 65 Deluxe, it's a 22 watt amp, folks. Okay, the 65 Deluxe is 22 watt amp. The JCM 800 is a 50 watt amp. We're talking 5, maybe 6 dB difference. Okay, it's double output wattage, over doubled output wattage. Probably more than that because Marshall rates these things, or they rated them in those days pretty conservatively. So it's probably more than 50 watts of output. But they claim 50. We'll go by the number they claim. You're talking 5 or 6 dBs. Okay, 5 or 6 dBs. So what's this telling you? Okay, what's the closest thing I had to 30? That was a 60. The 22 watt amp was a 65 Deluxe. Okay, it's the closest I had to 30. That's telling you there's not a lot of difference between a 30 watt tube amp and a 50 watt tube amp as far as the overall volume or the perceived volume. Okay, I just showed you that the dBs are pretty close on these things. All right. Okay, folks, so why would you want to use a 50 watt amp instead of a 30 or 22 or 15 or 12 or 5 for that matter? Because we saw that the decibels are all pretty close. Headspace, okay, that's why you choose the amp you want to use, headspace. Now I gave you a bad example, I guess, using a JCM 800 because JCM 800s are normally not played clean much, and I guess I could have probably tried to play it clean. I just played it the way they're played. I just turned it up wide open. And all the amps were wide open in the test. But generally speaking, the more output watts you have, the louder you can turn that amp up before you start to distort the power tube section. Okay. Now that means that you can play louder, cleaner with an amp that, and this is in general, but with an amp that has more output wattage. It has not that much to do with the perceived volume of the amp. If you want to make a smaller amp sound louder, run more speakers, push more air. Okay, that's going to make it sound louder. If you want to make a big amp sound smaller, run it through just one speaker. That'll cut back on the volume some. There's ways of doing it, or just don't turn it up so loud. I had all these amps wide open. Most people aren't going to be playing these things wide open, with maybe the exception of the Class 5. But I can tell you, because I've gigged that Class 5, I can tell you it's not easy to play that wide open in a lot of venues. I can tell you that. I can tell you that right now. So anyway. So when my drummer in that old band told me that the 50 watt amp was way too loud and I should be using a 30, as you can see from this test, he really didn't know what he was talking about. Okay, and I'm not really picking on him or anything. I'm just saying, there's a misconception, and I hope I've cleared this up for you a little bit by showing you this. Now I'm going to show you a screenshot as well, and maybe I'll insert it here. Okay, it's going to be a little screenshot. It's going to show you what it looked like on Audacity, and you can see the differences on the levels on that, and all of the levels were the same coming in. I guess that's about it. Dude, I'm going to tell you guys, man, this thing was loud. Okay, I had my earplugs on, you know, it was pretty loud. And it was a little bit complicated for me to do this because I had to go turn on the amp, and I put the amps in the same spot, so they were always the same distance away, so there's not really any difference in like angles or anything like that. And I had to run over, and I had to turn cell phone on and make sure that that camera was on and get it going. Then I had to run over to the laptop on the other side of the room and turn on the record through Audacity because I was wanting to track it through that. And then I had to grab the guitar, and I'd turn the volume on, hit the A chord, you know, play a little bit, like a little pentatonic crap, you know, and then turn it off, and then go run and turn everything off. So I was running around. I kind of worked up a sweat doing this because I need help here. I need to. We get a bigger budget here in the Southern Style Studios. Maybe I'll get some help. But in any event, so, you know, it's sloppy playing. You know, I was rushing as fast as I could. I barely was hanging on to the guitar, almost dropped it one time. So anyway, so it wasn't real scientific, but I hope it got the point across, okay? And so there, you know, that's it. Why you want the difference, you just, you know, if you're looking for headspace or if you're just looking for sound, pick the amplifier that you like. Pick the amplifier that sounds the way you want it to sound. Don't listen to people that tell you, oh, you got to have this, or oh, that's way too big. No, and I didn't have a 100-watt amp to test, okay? But, I mean, well, look at the results. I mean, if I'd have had a 100-watt amp to test, all right, let's say I had a 100-watt JCM 800, I'll probably, maybe it would hit 120, you know, decibels, maybe, yeah, 120. I don't know, you know, but I'll tell you this. A 100-watt JCM 800 is not going to sound twice as loud as a 50-watt JCM 800. It's not. You might get a little more bottom end out of it. You might get some more head space out of it, okay? But it is not going to sound twice as loud. So, you know, I laugh at people when they think you're going to go play a stadium because you got a 100-watt amp, but a 50-watt amp is fine to play a club. It's not that much difference, you know. My God, you know, if you can't play a 100-watt amp in a venue, you probably can't play the 50-watt amp in the venue because they're, you know, they're both really loud. But you can play both of them in the venue because there's a knob on there called volume, and you can turn that down, folks. You know, I just don't understand. Now, if you don't have a master volume, okay. Yeah, I understand that. You know, these older Marshalls, you got to turn them way up. The 65 Deluxe, the Tweed Deluxe, and the Class 5, none of those have a master volume. Okay, so to get a driven sound, a push sound, overdrive sound, if you don't have a pedal, you have to turn it up. Okay, that's the only way you can get it, unless you have a pedal. All right, now the JCM 800 had a master volume on it. So you can actually get an overdriven sound at a lower volume level. Now on the JCM 800, I had the master all the way up. I had the volume all the way up. I had the preamp about 7 or 8 or something because I don't run it all the way up. But anyway, that was 4 amps. You heard them. You saw the outputs, and it's just food for thought. So until next time, guys, it's SC Closer from the Southern Style Studios signing off, and I'll catch you next time. All right, thanks.